As a Tesla Model 3 owner, I'm surprised at how many questions I get about how well this car does on long road trips. People tend to be a little pessimistic when it comes to electric vehicles and their range. So in today's video, I want to break down what exactly it's like to travel cross-country in a Tesla Model 3 standard range. So my family and I recently drove from Metro Detroit, Michigan, all the way to Salt Lake City, Utah. Yeah, Utah. But anyway, under normal circumstances, if we were to take an ICE vehicle or internal combustion engine vehicle and drive from Metro Detroit all the way to Salt Lake City, it would take 27 hours and 19 minutes. Now, that's actually a pretty long road trip, especially to do in the winter months when things are starting to cool down a little bit, but hey, we made it. But one thing to keep in mind is when you're traveling in a Tesla, more than likely you're going to be using the Tesla Supercharger network to get across country. Now, the nice thing about it is they are conveniently located just off the freeway, so you don't typically have to go too far out of your way to get to a Tesla Supercharger. Usually they're within 5 minutes of a freeway exit, so that is really nice. But this does add time to your trip. Usually when you stop, you're going to spend anywhere from 15 to 30 minutes at a supercharger to refill up your battery just enough to get to the next supercharger. So with all of that in mind, and including charge time, our total travel time in the Tesla Model 3 will be 33 hours and 8 minutes. Now, I will say that's probably one of the downsides of owning the standard range version of the vehicle, is it does have the shortest amount of range, sitting somewhere around 250 miles. One thing to keep in mind though is that 250 miles that they rate you, you're not always going to get. You have many factors that weigh in, such as battery degradation, your speed that you're going, wind, elevation, and so on and so on. I'm going to make another video about that as well in the future. But with all of that being said, I found that I was usually getting somewhere between like 170 and 190 miles of range on a full charge, which is significantly less than what it's rated for due to those circumstances. Yeah, it sucks. One of the other things that affected my range was the fact that we saw a lot of mountainous driving or high elevations where you were mostly going uphill, so that had an effect. But the nice thing I did like is on the other side of that, when you're going downhill or anytime that you're braking, your Tesla does take that energy and put it back into the battery, and that helped with a little bit of the range anxiety. Another thing to keep in mind is with the superchargers, it is nice that they're conveniently located for driving to your destination. But one thing we found as well is depending on where you're driving in the country, you'll find that some superchargers are in some conveniently located places that have like plenty to do, or they're in a nice area to be able to get something to eat. And some of them are in the middle of nowhere. But let's focus on the positives. I do want to talk about the upsides of driving this car across country. And the first thing that I'll mention is the comfortability. This car is extremely comfortable to drive. There's plenty of storage in the trunk. You even have storage underneath where a spare tire would normally go. But since no spare tire comes with the Tesla Model 3, you can use that as storage. And then it is nice having the front that you can put snacks or other items that you need to get to quickly without having to pull everything out of the trunk just to get to that one item. It is nice to have that as well. There's also plenty of room in the cabin, so even for my kids sitting in the back and my wife, we are all able to stretch out our legs and have plenty of room to get comfortable. I tend to sit a little bit further back from the steering wheel, so usually in most vehicles the person sitting behind the driver won't have very much space to kind of stretch out and at least be comfortable while they drive. We haven't found that to be an issue while driving in the Tesla. But I must say that the real star here is the Autopilot. And that's whether you have basic autopilot or you have full self-driving. It really helped to make this trip so much easier, and I think that's because of the autopilot making those little micro corrections for you, keeping you centered in the lane, controlling your acceleration and braking. It really does help with like mental fatigue and the exhaustion that you experience from driving on long road trips. I found that by the time we reached our destination, I was not tired from driving, and I don't know if that's totally the autopilot in itself or if it's in addition to making more frequent stops and being able to stretch out a little bit. The next positive I will say is the cost. What it cost me to drive out here was absolutely nothing. $0. And that's because Tesla does this awesome thing of giving out 1,000 miles of free supercharging every time that you refer somebody and they purchase a Tesla as well. So at the start of this trip, I had almost 5,000 miles of free supercharging. So in essence, for me to drive here and go back home, it's not going to cost me anything. Now, if you don't have free supercharging, I will tell you that the cost to charge a full battery on a Tesla Model 3 still is substantially less than the cost of gas, and gas tends to fluctuate. So don't let that dissuade you as well. Typically, for me to get a full charge, it may cost me anywhere between $8 to $12 to $13. And I haven't seen prices that low to fill up a car since probably before I started driving. So that's really awesome. Now with that, the other thing I will add though is to keep in mind how you're going to charge your vehicle once you get to your destination. I did bring my travel charger with me, which charges on a 120 volt outlet and usually gives you anywhere from 5 to 6 miles an hour. It's not the fastest thing in the world, but if you're going to be plugging in overnight and then doing maybe some sightseeing or driving to and from the store, it's going to be more than enough for what you need to get around while you're there. All in all, I gotta say the experience is not that bad. There are some times when I had some range anxiety, and that's just comes with the car. Like every new Tesla owner will have range anxiety no matter how much range you have on your vehicle. It does take some getting used to, but like I said, Tesla superchargers are conveniently placed everywhere, and there were very few times, if any, that I found myself not able to get to a charger with enough battery to at least be able to charge back up. So that is really reassuring. It also may not be the fastest way to get around, but it is a more enjoyable and more comfortable way to do a road trip. Like I said, stopping every 2 to 3 hours didn't really bother me, and being able to sit back and let Autopilot do most of the work for me really helped to make the trip more enjoyable and easier along the way. So I hope that you guys found this enjoyable and interesting and helpful. Let me know down in the comments if you guys have ever taken a road trip in your Tesla. What was your experience like? And drop any questions that you have in the comments down below. I'll do my best to answer them as well. And then as always, please remember to subscribe if you're enjoying this content, and I will see everybody in the next one. Take care. Peace.